They called me insane. They called me mad. They said I was a visionary without purpose, a dreamer without results, a fool chasing impossible dreams. But I was not insane. I was simply ahead of my time, and ahead of time is the loneliest place a man can stand. My name is Nikola Tesla, and this is the truth about why the world rejected me, why they tried to destroy me, and why they succeeded in making the greatest scientific mind of the century disappear into obscurity. I was born with a gift, the ability to see what others could not see, to understand the invisible forces that govern our universe, to hear the whispers of nature that no other human could comprehend. From my earliest childhood in Smiljan, I could visualize complex machinery in perfect detail without writing a single line. I could see electromagnetic waves dancing through the air. I could understand the mathematics of the cosmos as naturally as I understood breathing. This was not madness. This was clarity. But the world does not appreciate clarity when it threatens the established order. When I arrived in America in 1884, with nothing but my mind and my dreams, I was young, brilliant, unstoppable. I had already discovered alternating current, the principle that would power the modern world. I had already understood that the Earth itself was a vast electromagnetic machine, pulsing with energy that could be harnessed and transmitted wirelessly to every point on the planet. I knew this was possible because I understood the mathematics, I understood the physics, I understood the very fabric of reality itself. But when I began to speak about these ideas, when I began to show that wireless energy transmission was not just possible but inevitable, the powers that controlled the world became afraid. Thomas Edison fought me viciously because his direct current system was inferior, inefficient, dangerous, and he knew it. But he had money, he had influence, he had politicians in his pocket. So instead of competing fairly, instead of letting science decide the winner, Edison waged a campaign of character assassination against me. He called me mad. He said my alternating current would kill people. He publicly electrocuted animals to prove the danger of AC power. This was not science. This was terrorism. This was the systematic destruction of a rival by any means necessary. And it worked. The newspapers, which he controlled through advertising money, began to mock me. Scientists, who depended on his funding, began to distance themselves from me. Investors, who were intimidated by his power, stopped supporting my research. Slowly, methodically, they built the narrative. Nikola Tesla is a madman, a visionary without substance, a dreamer chasing the impossible. But I was not mad. Every single thing I said, I could prove. Every experiment I conducted, it worked perfectly. Every principle I discovered, it was grounded in unshakable mathematics and physics. The only reason I appeared mad was because I was speaking about technologies that would not be fully understood for another 100 years. I was describing wireless power transmission in 1891 when the world still used gas lamps. I was explaining the principle of radar and remote control in 1893 when people still thought radio was magic. I was talking about earthquake machines and weather control when the very concept seemed like science fiction. But none of this was fiction. None of this was fantasy. This was real science, real mathematics, real physics, just ahead of the world's ability to comprehend it. When I built Wardenclyffe Tower in 1901, I was attempting to do something that would have changed human civilization forever. I was going to transmit wireless energy across the Atlantic Ocean. Every person on Earth would have access to unlimited free electricity transmitted through the air itself, received by simple antenna. No power lines, no central authority controlling the energy supply, no way for governments or corporations to control who gets power and who does not. This was the ultimate threat to the power structure. J.P. Morgan, who was funding my project, realized what I was actually building. He understood that if wireless energy succeeded, his monopoly on electrical distribution would be worthless. So he pulled the funding. He told me to stop. When I refused, he ensured I would never get funding again. He blacklisted me from every financial institution in America. He spread word to every newspaper that Tesla was a madman, wasting money on impossible dreams. And the world believed him, because Morgan had power, and I had only truth. Truth is worthless when it threatens power. I was not mad when I insisted that the Earth itself vibrates at a specific frequency, 783 hertz, and that all life on this planet is synchronized to this frequency. This is now called the Schumann resonance, and it is scientifically proven. I discovered it in 1891. For over 100 years, the world called me mad for discovering something that is now considered established fact. I was not mad when I said that by understanding and harnessing these natural frequencies, we could transmit energy wirelessly across unlimited distances with perfect efficiency. This is now being studied by quantum physicists and engineers around the world. I was not mad, I was right. But being right is sometimes more dangerous than being wrong, because truth threatens the status quo. The more I insisted on the validity of my discoveries, the more they pushed back. The more evidence I provided, the more they mocked me. The more I tried to share my knowledge, the more they isolated me. By the 1920s, I was completely marginalized. The newspapers ignored me. The scientific community rejected me. Investors would not touch me. Universities would not hire me. I became a ghost in my own time, present physically but erased from history while I was still alive. They locked me out of my laboratory. They seized my equipment. They classified my research. When I died in 1943, the FBI immediately confiscated all my remaining notes and research. They took thousands of documents, years of work, the culmination of my life's discoveries. Most of it has never been released. Most of it remains classified to this day. Why? Because the technology I discovered is too dangerous, not to humanity, but to the power structures that control humanity. Free wireless energy would mean the end of centralized power. Decentralized technology would mean the end of authoritarian control. A population with access to unlimited energy would be uncontrollable, so they buried my work. They erased my legacy. They rebranded me as a madman so that future generations would discount my discoveries without even examining them. But here is what they did not expect. In the age of information, nothing can be truly buried forever. My papers are being studied again. My principles are being rediscovered. My mathematics is being verified. And slowly the world is realizing that I was not mad at all. I was simply ahead of my time. The tragedy is that we lost a century of progress because of greed and fear. Imagine where humanity would be if they had allowed me to complete my work. Imagine if wireless energy had been successfully transmitted in 1905. Imagine if the world had access to unlimited free electricity for the past 120 years. Imagine what we could have built, what diseases we could have cured, what poverty we could have eliminated, what dreams we could have realized. Instead, we wasted a century fighting wars over oil and coal. We destroyed our planet, extracting fossil fuels that would have been unnecessary if they had simply allowed me to complete my research. We created weapons and systems of control that would have been impossible if people had access to unlimited energy. The real madness was not in my theories. The real madness was in the decision to suppress them. The real madness was in choosing power and control over progress and freedom. I was called insane because I threatened the existing order. I was silenced because I knew too much. I was erased because my discoveries were too revolutionary. But I was never mad. I was simply a scientist who understood the universe better than anyone else of my time, and I was punished for it. My legacy is now being reclaimed. My work is being vindicated. My principles are being applied to create the technologies of tomorrow. Quantum computing, wireless power transmission, frequency-based healing, neural interfaces, all of these are built on the foundation I laid over 100 years ago. The world is finally catching up to what I knew all along, but the cost of this delayed progress is incalculable. The suffering that could have been prevented is immeasurable. The potential that was lost is staggering, and all of it because they could not tolerate a mind that worked differently, a vision that threatened their control, a truth that challenged their power. This is my final message. I was not insane. I was brilliant, and they destroyed me for it. The world called me mad because my mind operated on a frequency they could not understand. But now, finally, after more than 80 years since my death, the world is beginning to comprehend what I knew all along. The vindication is too late to matter to me, but perhaps it is not too late for humanity. Perhaps you will learn from my fate. Perhaps you will protect the visionaries instead of destroying them. Perhaps you will value truth over power, progress over control, freedom over fear. This is my hope, this is my legacy, and this is the real story of why they called me insane. But the world does not appreciate clarity when it threatens the established order. When I arrived in America in 1884, with nothing but my mind and my dreams, I was young, brilliant, unstoppable. I had already discovered alternating current, the principle that would power the modern world. I had already understood that the Earth itself was a vast electromagnetic machine, pulsing with energy that could be harnessed and transmitted wirelessly to every point on the planet. I knew this was possible because I understood the mathematics, I understood the physics, I understood the very fabric of reality itself. But when I began to speak about these ideas, when I began to show that wireless energy transmission was not just possible but inevitable, the powers that controlled the world became afraid. Thomas Edison fought me viciously because his direct current system was inferior, inefficient, dangerous, and he knew it. But he had money, he had influence,